Hello everybody, today we're going to make a cube. To make this sculpture we're going to use 18 bubbles. Let's inflate all balloons, leaving about 7-inch flat tails. The cube, as we know, has 6 sides. We're going to use each balloon to make total of 12 bubbles. We're going to use 6 balloons to make 2 connected sides of the cube. Here I'm tying nozzles of 2 balloons together to make 1 pair. We have to make 3 pairs of balloons. In this instruction we're going to make all bubbles of the same, about 1-inch size. It would take 36 bubbles to make each side of the cube. 36 by 6 sides. It takes total of 216 bubbles to make the cube. Take 2 pairs of balloons and twist the first bubbles in each pair. Lock the free end of the first bubbles in one lock twist. It could take 20-30 minutes of time to make this sculpture if you have good skills. Now let's take the third pair of balloons, twist the first bubble. Now we twist the first bubble in the second pair of balloons. Lock the free ends of these 2 first bubbles in one lock twist. That's how it looks like now. Take the balloon on the left side of the sculpture, twist the first 2 bubbles. Twist the second bubble of the second balloon on the left. Lock free ends of the second bubbles in one lock twist. Now we have to twist second bubbles of the 2 balloons in the middle of the sculpture. Lock the free ends of the second bubbles in one lock twist. Twist the second bubble of the next balloon on the right. And then we twist the chain of the first 2 bubbles on the right side of the sculpture. Lock the free ends of the second bubbles in one lock twist. We have made the first 2 rows. Basically it is a pattern that we're going to follow to make the rest of the sculpture. Working in this way we have to twist total of 6 rows to make the square piece of fabric. This instruction is some kind of continuation of previously published instruction, where we have made the square piece of fabric and use it as a top of the cake. Now we are making basically the same square pieces of fabric to make the cube. If you by any chance have problem to follow me in this instruction, you should watch the previously published instruction where I use different color balloons to make the square piece. I believe it makes it much easier to follow. The square is one of the basic geometrical shapes, and so is cube. We always use basic geometrical shapes to make much more complicated sculptures. I consider this instruction as an example of what and how we can do using one of these basic shapes. And look, here we already get into the 6th row of our square. We have made the first side of the cube, square piece with sides 6 by 6 bubbles. Keep working following the same pattern to make the second side of the cube. 2 connected squares will make one rectangular shape with sides 6 by 12 bubbles. After you finish the 12th row, you have to cut off the rest of the balloons. You can use scissors or do it with your hands and tie off the ends. Alright, here we have made 2 sides of the cube, blue color. And now we're going to make the third side of the cube and the first corner of the cube. I'm attaching the first pair of green balloons at the middle of the long side of blue rectangle, between the 5th and the 6th rows to be exact. Twist the first green bubble. Lock the free end of the first green bubble between the 7th and the 8th blue rows. We have made the corner of the cube. Attach the second pair of green balloons between the 3rd and the 4th blue rows, right next to the first 2 green bubbles. Twist the first bubbles. Lock the free ends of the first green bubbles in one lock twist, and then we attach the 3rd pair of green balloons between the 1st and then 2nd blue rows. Basically, as you can see, we work the green balloons in the same way as we did the blue balloons. There is only one difference. As you can see, we have to attach the green balloons to the blue sides. That's the only difference. Now we are making second bubbles of the two green balloons in the middle, and then we lock the free ends of the second bubbles in one lock twist. Then we're making second bubbles of the two balloons on the right side of the sculpture, lock the free ends of the second bubbles in one lock twist. We've made the first two rows of the third side of the cube. From here we keep working the sculpture in the same way. Just remember to attach the green balloon on the right side to the blue side. We have to follow the same pattern to make total of 12 green rows. This way we're going to make two green sides of the cube connected to the first two blue sides of the cube. Here we're finishing the third side of the cube. Attention, right here I'm making the corner. From here we are working on the fourth side of the cube. With good twisting skills it could take you about 20-30 minutes to make the cube. It could take longer, hour or two. And it's kind of boring to make this sculpture. At the end, as a reward, you will have simple but very nice toy to play with. We can use cube instead of a ball to play any games indoor. Also I want to say a couple words about the size. You can use any even number of balloons to make a smaller or larger size cube. And here we get into the end of the fourth square. Cut off the rest of the balloons. You can do it with scissors, with your hands. Tie off ends of the balloons. We have made so far 4 sides of the cube. Let's fix all bubbles in proper positions. At this moment the sculpture looks like some kind of box or armchair. There are actually only 2 sides where we can attach the next sets of balloons. This time I will start from the corner. Attach first pink pair between blue bubbles at the corner. Twist the first pink bubble. Lock its free end between green bubbles. Attach the second pink pair of balloons next to the first pink pair. Well, as you can see, we follow the same procedure, the same pattern as previously. You have managed to make 2/3 of the cube, and I believe you can manage to make the rest of the sculpture without anyone's help. Here I'm making the corner. As you can see in this example, I use 6 balloons of one color to make each 2 connected sides of the cube. It's a very simple color pattern. You can use different color balloons to make different color patterns. Using different color patterns makes your work very special. It changes the way people perceive your work. At the end of this video I will show you some examples of different color patterns. Hopefully it will give you some ideas and may give you some inspiration for your future beautiful works. At this point we almost finished the 5th side of the cube. I mentioned many times before in previously published instructions that I try to use the least possible number of balloons to make almost every sculpture. With regards for the cube sculpture with size 6 by 6 bubbles, in this example we're using 18 balloons to make the sculpture, and there is a way to make the same sculpture using just 12 balloons. All you have to do is just use 6 balloons to make 3 connected sides of the cube. You would save 6 balloons, and most importantly it would take less time to make the sculpture. And time, that's what is always matter, I cannot be wrong about it. Alright, and here we are making the last side of the cube. We can use the cube as a hiding place, a box, for little presents, gifts. Of course, you should not put any heavy or sharp items inside of the sculpture. If you want to hide anything inside of the cube, that's a proper time to do it. Put it inside. Here we have made the 12th pink row. Let's cut off the rest of the pink balloons, tie off the ends. Use the ends of the pink balloons to tie the pink side to the green side of the cube. Congratulations! We have made the cube. We can use the cube as it is. We can use it instead of ball to play any games indoor. We can use the cube to make toy furniture, tables, chairs. To make an armchair, just push one corner of the cube inside. Here we got the armchair. You can turn the sculpture upside down on one side and use it as a roof for the dollhouse. The armchair can be used for toys, obviously. Here's a Mr. Shrek. You can sit on this armchair as well, it will hold you. And here, as I promised, examples of the cube where I use different color patterns. Here's another example of a cube where I use different color balloons to make the sides. In previously published instruction we use connection bubbles to attach sides to the top of the cake. We can use connection bubbles to connect sides of the cube as well. Let's start by making connection bubble. Lock both ends of the connection bubble in one lock twist. We have to make 3 connection bubbles on each side of the square. Making connection bubbles on all sides of the square makes a total of 12 connection bubbles. And then we use connection bubbles to attach sides of the cube to each other. The rest of the square we work in exactly the same way as we did previously. I personally think that using connection bubbles makes it much easier and faster to connect sides of the cube. In this example I use 6 balloons of different rainbow colors. We're working basically in the same fashion as previously, just making additional bubbles, connection bubbles at the edge of the square. We already made the first 2 rows. Using connection bubbles makes much more sense when you making complicated larger size sculptures. For example, dollhouses. Obviously we don't have time today to do the dollhouse. I will show you in one of the future instructions how to make dollhouse. Meantime you can try to make it yourself. And then please share results of your work. You can do it right here in the comments to the video. Here we are making the 6th row of our square. In this example I'm actually going to make 2 squares separately, both squares with connection bubbles at the edge of the squares. And then I'm going to make 4 connected squares in a regular way, using the same patterns we did before. Here we have made the first square. I think you can manage the rest of the sculpture. Here's the end result. Congratulations again, we have made the cube. The corners of the cube looks much better with connection bubbles, as you can see. In this example I also use different color patterns. This way it looks better, right? That's enough for today. Have fun and happy twisting!